Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Diana Jean Lovejoy, guilty of the crime of attempted murder of Greg Mulvihill in violation of Penal Code.
This video has been viewed 82 million times. Nearly 100 million people from every corner of the world have clicked on this clip just to witness a single second of another human being's absolute downfall. The comment section is a wasteland of judgment. People call this woman a monster, a cold-blooded mastermind, and dismiss her collapse as a cheap theatrical act. We have become a society obsessed with the shell. We crave simple narratives, black and white stories with obvious villains and clear-cut victims. We watch a 1-minute video, hand down a verdict in our minds, dissect the ruins of strangers' lives, and move on with our day. But what if we told you that beneath this 1-second collapse lies 10 years of an invisible, living hell? A hell where there was no single villain. Today, we are not here to judge. The jury has already done that. We are here to do something far more difficult, to look past the facade. Because when you strip away the judgment, when you trace a person's steps, piece by piece, you realize that in every human tragedy, there are always explanations. And those explanations will always outnumber the condemnations. Judgment is easy. It stays on the surface. But if you dig deep enough, you will always end up in the exact same place. Childhood. Today, we are going to look into the souls of 4 haunted, broken lives. 3 of them ended up in shackles and hospital beds, and the fourth victim was left to pick up the pieces of this war. Let's start with Diana. To understand her mind and the desperate strength that drove her to cross the line, you have to know what the true crime headlines usually leave out. 8 children. This woman buried 8 children. 8 failed pregnancies. 8 deaths that she carried entirely on her own. These weren't just medical statistics. They were 8 of her profound, hard-fought hopes, dying inside her one after another. Imagine the scars that leaves on a woman's psyche. Every loss is a partial death of the mother herself. But Diana possessed a warrior's soul. She had a kind of inner resilience that few are capable of. She didn't give up after the first time, or the 5th, or the 8th. And then, a miracle happened. Her 9th pregnancy brought a healthy baby boy into the world. This child wasn't just a son to her. He became her entire universe. He was the oxygen she could finally breathe after years of suffocating darkness. And in her traumatized mind, a primal, uncontrollable force was awakened. The maternal instinct. The exact same instinct that in the wild drives a mother bear to tear apart anything that breathes too close to her cub. It is a massive, blind, and devastating force, invisible from the outside, but capable of burning down everything in its path. When Diana's marriage began to fracture and a bitter, toxic custody battle began, her mind, already warped by years of grief, didn't see a legal divorce. She saw a mortal threat. They wanted to take away her world, her life, her hard-won miracle. And so, this warrior took a desperate, terrifying gamble. She operated on a twisted logic that perhaps only mothers who have lost children can truly comprehend. It is better for everyone around me to weep once than for me to cry for the rest of my life. She put everything on the line, her freedom, her reputation, her entire destiny, and she crossed the line. She did it without fear. We are not excusing her actions. The law is absolute. But we have no right to judge her. Mothers who had to crawl through hell just to hold their children, they will understand. Now, let's look at the other side of this coin. Let's look at her husband, Greg. The world was quick to label him as nothing more than an innocent victim. But let's look beneath his shell. We don't want to condemn him. We want to understand him. Greg was not born a tyrant. He was not born a dictator or an egoist. Those traits were nothing more than a heavy, impenetrable suit of emotional armor that he put on as a child. Greg grew up in an environment where his psychological wounds were cut so deep that they never healed. He grew up where the world around him was unpredictable, chaotic, or emotionally vacant. A young child who never feels safe in his own home grows up with one obsessive conviction. If I do not control every single variable around me, my world will collapse, and I will be crushed. His egoism was born from that childhood pain, but in his adult life, he masked it as rigid discipline and order. When he was confronted with Diana's hyper-anxiety, the distorted signals of his own wounded soul painted a terrifying picture. Instead of showing empathy to a woman who had buried 8 children, his survival instinct forced him to tighten his grip. He began demanding logs, financial tracking, enforcing rules, and stripping away her autonomy. This was his shield. He genuinely believed he was saving his home. The ghosts of his childhood kept whispering, "If you loosen your grip, she will destroy you." A man trapped in the cage of his own fears simply couldn't comprehend that the woman beside him, the object of his love, was also capable of loving. He couldn't see that, if he had just opened his heart and let go of the reins, she would have given him far more than he was trying to force out of her. 2 unhealed childhood traumas collided head-on under one roof. But there is a third person in this tragedy. The shooter, whom the media immediately branded as a simple hitman for hire. His name is Weldon McDavid, and he, too, cannot be judged on the surface. Weldon is a former Marine, and anyone who understands the military knows. Once a Marine, always a Marine. His brain was hardwired for the strategies of war, and the core strategy of any honorable warrior is the protection of the helpless and the rescue of those in distress. When Diana opened her shattered soul to him at that gun range, when she trusted him with her darkest secrets and wept out of sheer helplessness, something primal woke up inside Weldon. It was the human instinct to rescue. It was a deep, misguided sense of masculine chivalry, even if the path he chose was fatal and unlawful. He was driven by humanity. God put a function inside all of us, to save the one who cries out for help. Weldon looked at Diana and saw a woman whose world was being suffocated by a controlling husband. And he made a soldier's decision. He would not leave her to her fate. Any ordinary civilian or coward in his position would have said, "Look, take your problems somewhere else. I'm not going to prison for you. I don't care about your kid." But there was no cowardice in this warrior's soul. He showed the true weight of masculine loyalty. To rescue another life, he consciously sacrificed his own freedom. He took a catastrophic, unlawful step because his warrior code demanded he protect the weak. It is not our place to judge this man. In reality, in our darkest hours of despair, wouldn't we all want someone by our side who wouldn't run, someone we could lean on, someone who wouldn't betray us when we bare our souls? Greg survived the shooting. The bullet passed straight through. Diana was sentenced to 26 years in prison. Weldon McDavid was sent away for decades, 3 clouded, ruined lives. But in reality, there are 4. We all watched the video. We all judged Diana, pitied her husband, and cursed the shooter. But years have passed, and has a single person out of those 82 million viewers ever stopped to ask, how is the child doing? The little boy left without the mother who was willing to turn the world upside down for him, and with a father whose soul is covered in the scars of control? No one asked. We just picked at their bones and went back to our quiet lives. I want to speak to every single one of you listening to me right now. Let us be kinder to one another. Before you pass judgment in your heart, look for the wounds first, because we all have them. The heavy wounds inflicted in childhood, in youth, the deep traumas of adolescence, they never truly heal. They live inside us, pulling the strings of our adult lives, sending false signals, and forcing us into devastating mistakes. So, I beg you, protect your children from the very beginning, especially when they are vulnerable, when they are fighting through their difficult teenage years. Do not scream at them. Do not yell just to prove your fleeting adult authority, demanding what you want without ever asking the child what they need. We, as adults, scream, vent our anger, and forget about it 5 minutes later. But inside the child, a wound is opened, and that wound grows with them, painting a hostile, dangerous world. It will teach them that if they do not become a tyrant, they will be crushed. Talk to your children. Show them that inside your home, there is friendship, unconditional love, and safety. Let them know that you, the parents, are their absolute shield against the blizzards of the outside world. Teach them how to love, not how to defend themselves from life. Because in the end, when we stand before God, it will become clear that the human soul was always far more important than the actions we left behind. And before you cast a stone at someone who fell, ask yourself, could you have survived the blizzard that raged within their souls?